Welcome to The Flip Side, a GYTO podcast where we break down, share, and challenge flip perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education. Welcome back to The Flip Side Couch, everybody.
Here we are.
Let's go.
We're excited for a brand new episode today, and we have two incredible people joining us, Josh and Riley Powell, another husband-wife duo.
They are incredible people. Excited they're here.
Fifth wheeling it for life.
Yes, it is.
But we are excited for today's topic. We're going to be discussing what parents wish teachers knew. Oh, let's get into it.
So this summer at one of our Indiana conferences, Hope and I rolled out a new session. We were Riddlers, and I have not stopped thinking about it since those 2 weeks in June because we haven't got to do it again, but hopefully we'll soon. So I have some riddles for you all now. These are an IQ test, okay? So I'm going to give you 4 different items.
Oh, man,
excited.
this is going to make me feel really bad about myself.
Get ready. Just get ready. This is actually from some IQ test. Which IQ test?
Oh, no.
I don't know. But it is, you have to find the odd one out. So I'm going to give you 4 different things.
Okay.
You have to decide which is the odd one out. It is not a race because I want the people at home in their car driving to have time to do it too. So think in your head first.
Okay.
And then you'll share out and say which one is the odd one out of this group.
If you get the answer first, does that make you smarter?
No, it does not. No, you just have to decide internally and then you'll get that one correct.
I prefer hard work.
Okay, here we go. Which of these does not belong?
And we don't answer right now.
Don't scream it out. No cheater. If you're playing in your car, you can play along too. Okay.
Sorry.
Which of these does not belong? Blue, brown, orange, or yellow? Which of these does not belong? Blue, brown, orange, or yellow?
Okay, I think I got it.
Wait, do you have it? Still thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay. Hope. Which one?
Blue,
Justification.
because it's a cool color.
Incorrect. That is not the correct answer.
I was so confident in that one.
Wade, blue, brown, orange, or yellow. Correct that it's a cool color, but not correct.
My art teacher is to be
answer.
proud of that. Shout out, Tammy.
Blue, brown, orange, or yellow.
Which one doesn't belong?
Correct.
All right. Well, if Josh were here, he would probably know because he's an art
artist.
teacher. Yes. And he is an artist. I would say yellow.
Incorrect.
What is it, brown? Don't tell me brown.
The answer
That's
is
so
brown
dumb.
because
That
it is
the
not in the
obvious-
rainbow. That was the answer on that one.
that is
Okay,
the
next one.
obvious
Here we go.
choice. I
Well,
was trying not to be obvious.
overthinking leading to
So high
intelligence.
IQ,
Okay.
high IQ
Brown
doesn't
brown
work.
actually
Overthinking.
fits because if you mix them all, they'll
No,
probably
that is
make
that is
brown.
not the correct. I don't make the answers. I'm just reading
Go
them off.
ahead.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Next one. Which of these does not belong? Now you have to think outside of the box. They're not
I'm
all the
vis-
same.
I'm-
I
I'm
was thinking outside the box
visualizing.
last
here we
one. It
go.
screwed me over.
Okay.
I'm watching it.
2 outside of the box, maybe. Okay, next one. Which of these does not belong? Bunny, cat, bicycle, bread. It is so silent in this room right now. The
Bunny.
silence is crippling.
Okay, I got it.
Okay,
Cat.
bunny, cat, bicycle, bread.
Okay, I think I got it.
I think you have it too.
I know.
Okay, Hope, which one does not belong?
Bicycle.
No.
Bread? No. What?
What is it?
Cat. All the other ones start with the letter B. Bicycle,
Oh, my-
cat, bicycle, and bread.
I wasn't raised on science.
Okay,
degree.
okay, here we go.
I was
Next
not
one.
raised on science.
This one I feel, I'm feeling confident in this
But
one.
wait,
Okay, number
what
3.
are you gonna say?
I didn't.
He was just staring at me.
Well, let me at least justify my intelligence.
Justify it all you want.
Wait,
There's
which one did I say
answer.
didn't belong? Bicycle. Because a cat has 4 legs, a bunny has 4 legs,
And bread has 4 legs.
corners.
Bread-
Bread has 4 corners.
No, bread does not unless you cut it. And
has
sometimes
4
it does.
corners, bro. It's a
There's different
square.
types of
It is
bread.
8. It's
There's
actually
so
a
many
3D
types of
shape,
bread.
so there's different vertices on that. It's actually 8.
okay.
But okay, next one. Which of these does not belong?
Okay, I'm closing my eyes again.
Daisy, oak, rose, tulip.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, I'm feeling confident in this one.
Oak.
Yes, there you go. And why?
It's a tree.
There you go. Okay, next one. Which of these does not belong? Plastic.
That doesn't require intelligence.
They're on a full spectrum.
Okay.
Plastic, paper, wool, or wood.
Wood.
Which does not belong. Don't call out. No cheating. Plastic, paper, wool, or wood.
Sorry.
She changed her answer 3 times.
Plastic, paper,
wool, or wood?
Plastic.
Paper.
Your husband is still thinking.
Also, nobody can hear you because you don't even have your mic.
He's really concentrating.
plastic, paper, wool,
Or wood.
Let's go trap trap.
plastic.
Correct. Both plastic because
Yes.
It's
Non-living.
no, it's not. None of the. Oh my gosh, wool is not living
none of
either.
those are living, but it is not from a
wood
animal
can
or
come
plant.
from a living
Right.
thing.
Okay,
It's
correct,
It's
correct.
made in a lab.
Okay, let's do
Plastic's
two
made in a
more,
lab.
then we're calling it a wrap. Okay, this one. Which of these?
I prefer the Enneagram question.
Okay, we can do those next.
No, we can't.
Which of these do not belong? Apple, grape, cherry, banana, or pear?
There's too many options.
Nope, there's 5 in this one. Apple, grape, cherry, banana, or pear? Which of these does not belong? Apple, grape, cherry,
it.
banana, or pear?
Got it.
In 3,
No. Apple,
Two.
grape.
One.
cherry, banana, or pear?
It's banana
Why?
I think
because it doesn't have
too.
seeds on the inside.
It does have seeds.
Correct answer, wrong justification. It's the only one that you have to peel to eat. The rest you can just bite into.
That's pretty good.
All right, last one. Here we
Oh,
go.
I thought that was the last one.
Carrot, radish,
What did you just say?
carrot,
Carrot.
Carrot?
Carrot.
carrot,
Carrot.
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 carrot,
Yeah. Not a carrot.
Mario?
Mario.
carrot, carrot. I'm talking about the orange thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Radish.
Yep.
Just checking my pronunciation. Potato,
Yep.
cabbage.
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 Why?
Because all those roots.
Correct.
Those are
You've had
roots,
time with
yeah.
them. There you go. So
I was really starting to
got
really,
three, I think.
be worried
All right, cute.
about my
Yeah,
IQ
2 or
level.
3. 2 or 3.
it's a test. Yeah, you got 2 or 3. It's about a solid like
30%.
40%. All right, let's dive in with Riley and Josh. Here we go.
All right, you guys, we are so excited to dive into today's episode. Actually, I started talking to Josh and Riley before, and I was like, we just need to start. We just need to start because everything that I'm about to say, you guys need to hear. So, Josh and Riley, welcome to the Flip Side Couch.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
This is so exciting for me specifically. So, just some background, some history. Josh and I were just talking. We have known each other for 36 years, which is
my.
great. I feel like you have to tell the story that you just told about my mom. I think this is very important to
That's
the.
great. Yeah, wonderful Pam. I think you were about 14 or so, came to me and was like, hey, I just want you to know, I want you to be the first person to take my hope out for a date.
I can hear her saying that myself.
I hope.
Like the fact that you said exactly like that, I'm like,
To the
"Yep."
pizza buffet.
You be the take my hope out for her first date.
We could have gone to the pizza.
You could have gone to the pizza buffet. That would have been a classic.
buffet. Man, if you
in
don't,
high class.
if you don't live in Anderson and you miss out on the pizza buffet, we hate that for you. But before we dive in too much, because I could say a lot about you guys, I want y'all to introduce yourselves, tell who you are, all the things about you.
Okay, well, my name's Riley. I am a mom of 3. We have a 17-year-old boy who just graduated high school. So, and then all the way down to a surprise baby girl who's 2. So she hasn't been in school yet, but then our middle one is about to go into middle school. So he's 10. I work as a speech language pathologist in the hospital, but do author podcast stuff on the side.
Fish author. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Hey.
Thank
You
you.
can put a plug in for your book right
Yeah,
now.
we definitely will link. Don't you worry.
Insert commercial here.
All right, I'm Joshua, and I get to be married to this wonderful woman beside me. I'm an educator as well, so I've been teaching. I think I just finished year 21 in education, public education. I teach visual art at an arts magnet school here in Anderson. So I think she talked about her kids, so that covers most of it.
Yeah, they're ours together.
And that's what I think. So that's why when we were talking about this episode of what parents wish teachers would know, that's what I immediately first thought about you guys. So I'm like, you guys have seen the full journey. Like now with Grayson, him just graduating. That's so crazy, first of all.
That is nuts.
I mean, I remember him being like 2 and like banging all the drums. I know,
Playing
and all the
my guitar and all that.
playing your guitar.
on the stage
know.
at church.
Right.
so wild. And the fact that
Around
he's
two when y'all
graduating.
started at Hope Fellowship, so
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah. I mean, these are the band boys right here. But, and then now down to a baby girl. A baby girl. That's awesome. I feel like that is so perfect for you.
Yeah.
I feel like you could not have just continued life without a little girl.
I agree with you.
I thought that was the coolest thing. So, obviously, we're excited to talk to you, you know, from your educational background too, but as parents who have seen this full scope of what this journey looks like for And I'm sure that, all of your kids are so incredibly different, right? And their strengths and their weaknesses. Josh, I saw those eyebrows go really high. So I think that's also just such great perspective too, when we have, children coming into our classroom, even if they're from the same family and from what does that look like as that journey? So we're really excited to talk with you guys today and dive in from the parent perspective, which I think is so important as we all, it's a team effort from parents, from educators, from the community to really, raise this next generation. So we're excited to chat.
Good. Let's do it.
All right. Am I going to start with the questions, or would anybody else like to? Because I could just reminisce all day about
you're doing
birthday
great.
Party where Josh came and we were talking about that. We could just go into straight memory.
You just keep going with your questions, and I'll keep fifth wheeling on the couch here as we're going. I feel like we should do like newlyweds, like battle of the couples or something.
Oh yeah, you should do a game.
We should have sat two of you on that side, two of you on this side, and I can sit in the middle. Missed opportunity. We'll do that next time.
We'll have to plan a little better. So I just want to know from you guys, I think first of all, how has each child's journey through education, and I know Ivy's not quite there yet, but what has it looked like? Has it been similar? What has the journey been like in the educational system for you as parents following your children?
See you.
Well, you said at the house, our kids are completely different. I mean, their educational process has been completely different. Our first one loves school, loves learning, loves the academic, the goal component, the performance assessments. He thrives for a standardized test. Like, give it to me. I want the score.
And actually, if we just left out the work part of it, let me just get to the test part. Right?
So he scored highest in math, just that whole thing was motivation for him. And then our second one, it's like, just pulling teeth to get him to go to school at all. He just could care less about that, unless who's who going to be there, who's my teacher.
What fun stuff are we
doing? Are we going to have a party? Are we going to have snacks?
How long is recess?
all the most, and so it's just completely different. Raising them. So
So on those, I specifically, well, we could go on either angle. Grayson or Kian. Right? Kian is your middle. How has that been as a parent to go from, because your first child, for school, to me, what it sounds like is it was an easy journey just because that desire was there, that motivation was there, that enthusiasm, which then we could get into the putting too much pressure on yourself, always having to be the best at everything, versus the other side, of Kian being a little bit more hesitant, reluctant, not a huge fan of it. What does that look like from a parent perspective? Because these, both of them have been raised in the same house by the same parents. And we talk about that a lot, how we're raising them exactly the same, that they turn out so different. So what does that look like from a parent perspective of going from your first, who was so into school, to your second, it being a little bit more of a struggle to build up that enthusiasm?
It's definitely been more of a challenge with the second one. Grayson was just easy, I guess, as far as that stuff would be concerned. He still had his own struggles and still has his own struggles with, getting stuff done and all of that. But as far as just wanting to be at school, that was always easy. With Kian, it's always been how in the world are we going to just get him to get out of the car at school this morning?
But I think as parents, we don't focus on academics that much. Even though Josh is an educator and we care about goals, we really care about passion and character and friendship and so much more than just academics. So really, I don't feel like our parenting between the two has been just completely different. I feel like for both, our goal is for them to show up and be themselves and to do their best and to be a kind person and to find the positives and to look for the ways to be helpful. And so our targets for our children are the same. So I'm like, I can see their differences plain as day, but I really don't feel like we parented them completely differently, other than just the way we drag them out of bed.
Having to stay on top of them a little more.
Same outcomes, different journeys and different paths to getting there. That's every human.
And I think a lot of parents probably could agree with that as well, that with different siblings and different journeys within education, that the heart is still there and the kind of drive to try your best, and maybe the academic outcome is not the same or similar in that aspect, but the meaning behind it and kind of the force is still the same. I'm curious, and this could be for either or even both, was there a teacher that they had growing up that kind of changed education for them, where you were like, oh, this makes, like, this is where what it's all about? Is there like one specific teacher or a grade maybe where for either of them, whether they were thriving in school or kind of a little resistant, that kind of changed the game as far as coming home from school and a different attitude towards things, or maybe challenge them a little more? I'm curious to hear kind of that perspective.
Well, for Kian, I'm still waiting on that.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. We have 4 years left. We have 4 years left.
That's where we're gonna go next.
Yes.
That's where we're gonna go next.
Yes, I love that you said that.
So I want to keep it positive.
Well, but even then he did have, was it Burton?
Yeah.
Burton, was an amazing teacher for him. And,
That's true.
when I was preparing my District Teacher of the Year speech, I was thinking about like the different experiences they had. And so I actually reached out to her and was like, hey, can you just describe Kian to me? And she gave me this amazing description. And it's like exactly like if you were to ask us to describe him, she gave that description of him. And
Great question.
he loved being in her classroom every single day.
That's true.
He didn't like the work, didn't like
Right.
the work, but he loved her and loved being there. And so that,
Yeah, they had a connection. Her sister was having a baby. We were having a baby. And she just thought Kian was hilarious. And so, I mean, that is true. She really did provide a really great safe place for him to show up and feel supported and capable and independent. For Grayson, I would say it was the high school science teacher.
Yeah, same thing. I contacted, or actually I pulled a quote from Grayson about his high school physics teacher, and just how impactful his content was, and like how that really was something that Greg could jump into and immediately like, this is incredible. Thinking
And
about
he had so much fun
acoustics
teaching
and
it.
all stuff like that, and he just loved being a part of that, and he connected with the students in a very different way than obviously elementary would, right? And so that was another person that I really looked to for Grayson. He had he loved.
I was about to say he had so many
He's
good
like, I love this teacher, and all four of these in elementary school. I loved
Honestly,
it.
him being graduated, they do a parade where they go back to elementary school and parade through as in their like cap and gowns and see their teachers.
Oh, that's cool.
And they get to visit those teachers, and several of those teachers posted pictures of them and Grayson on social media and would say different comments. And it was really special to me to hear the thing that they remembered about him, and it was like that he would roll a Hot Wheel car in his desk, to kind of stay focused, or that he was funny or he had good questions. It wasn't ever about the academics.
Yeah.
It was always about who he was and as a person and how they connected. And I love to come to that place where we got to hear
Yeah.
what's left when it's all said and done. What are you carrying with you? What do they remember about you?
You mean they didn't say he got a 98 on his math test in the second quarter of third grade? Yeah.
Doesn't even matter.
That's what I just hearing everything that you've answered has kind of revolved around one thing, and it's about who your kids become as people.
Yeah, exactly.
However, they are highly influenced, impacted by the people they spend a great deal of time with, which are the teachers every
100%.
single day, right? And so whether they're more like Grayson, who he is, academically driven and like you said, loves the testing, loves the academics, or for Kian, who it's more of a passion. What am I interested in? What's going to excite me if the academics don't excite me? Because there's so many kids. You probably don't. I mean, with you being an art teacher, you get to really kind of pour into those passions. But I can't tell you how many kids who have, sat in my classroom that are not academically motivated, right? But for a teacher, then that becomes a challenge, because as a teacher, yes, our job is to, to pour into the whole child, but we're so held to a standard of the academics.
Still have to meet the goal.
You still have to meet the goal. So looking at, your one child that has, more passion fueled than academic fueled.
Yeah.
What would be so important that you wish that every teacher would know, understand, that might lead to that one teacher finally having that connection with him that really gets him connected to school in a different way?
Yeah. Oh man, I could probably just cry through this question. It's like you just want so badly for the teacher to see the things you see in your kid. It's like, please stop and take a minute and recognize all the amazing, gorgeous things about him. I mean, he sees things in brighter colors and bigger and better than we ever see them. I mean, if he tells a story, it's like, whoa, that's what happened. And for a long time, we're like, wow, he can really embellish a story. But then
He's going to be a writer.
But then, you never know. One day it was like, it like occurred to me that he actually sees it that way. He's not embellishing. He sees the world bigger and brighter and better. And he cares so, so much about how you feel about him and what you see and what you think and what you feel. And I just think he feels what you feel. But, and so to find a teacher who cares about that and, speaks that and, sees that and speaks it and calls it out into him and gives that life, like brings value to that component of who he is.
Yeah.
Would be life-changing for him.
Yeah.
Josh,
what was it like for you, obviously being in education, but then being a parent? How has that, shifted your perspective as a teacher in your classroom?
Also, a district teacher of the year.
Yeah, we
all
missed out on that part.
accolades
Let's give
that
it
he
shout
got.
out. Give it up.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
seriously.
Appreciate it, man.
But still, I mean, your expectation for education is up here. And
Well, first of all, and I think we should point out that when Wade came to your classroom, he came back home. He
Wade.
was like, Hope, you just don't
It was
we know
incredible.
Josh has always been so talented and so great at everything, which is very true. But he's like, this is literally one of the best teachers that I've ever seen.
man.
And he was
fact.
purely just authentically just amazed by the work that you do. But I think that part of it, and I want to get to the question, but I also don't want to miss this. I think that what he was so amazed about, which is the exact question that I'm asking you now, was your connection to your kids,
Right.
your connection to your students. And it wasn't just on an academic level.
Right.
So what has it been like being a parent and a teacher? How has that kind of shifted?
I would think that I have higher standards for what I want, for my kids as they go through. And so I can find myself disappointed, like, wow, that teacher just done this. I don't say those things out loud, but just in my own thinking, in my own, just reflecting on my teaching, it's always like, wow, I do this. All they had to do was this, and it could have been a great situation for my child, and either one of them. And so there's a little criticism and stuff that I try to hold in somewhat, but it does kind of make me think about, all right, well, those are my kids in those classrooms. I've got right now 90 kids in my classrooms between 3 classes. Those are kids,
Right.
those are children
of someone else.
of parents.
Correct.
And so really thinking about every day when my kids are in my classroom, just making sure that I am creating that safe environment for them to be a part of, to where they get to know each other in a small group, and I get to know them as well, and I'm there to hold them accountable, but also challenge them and all those things that I need to do. So it kind of it works back and forth. Like I have those expectations for the educations that my students are going to get. I mean, my kids are going to get, my actual biological children, but also that impacts how I handle my kids. A lot of my kids call me dad, call me father, those kind of things at school. Those that don't have it, or those that do and just see me as another one while they're there. And it's just another opportunity for me to be a father to those kids too, So I think I kind of danced around your question, didn't answer it straight on, but I think it's just a back and forth of myself as a teacher, myself as a parent, and kind of flipping back and forth between those two.
And as you're talking, I'm just reflecting when I became a parent, and then I was teaching, even before we had Maverick, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'll always teach the same. I still did it.
Same. I thought the same thing.
Complete switch.
Right. Yeah.
When you become a parent and you're an educator, it's something, because you think, oh, that 8th grader that could be Maverick.
Right.
That's someone's kid. And just going back to your point, Riley, it's making sure that the kids are safe and they feel safe and they feel seen.
Right.
The teaching will come, and it's the passions and all of those relationships. And I think teachers forget that often. If I send Maverick to school or send him somewhere, I don't care what happens as long as he's safe.
Yeah.
Right.
And as long as he's seen and not talked down to, I'm good. You can do whatever. Do whatever with him.
Yeah, the learning's going to happen, right? They want to learn. They want to do their best.
Yeah.
So to walk
humans
into a
do.
classroom and assume that about your kids, I think that's what Josh does. He assumes that his kids want to do their best.
Yeah.
Correct.
Want to be there.
I think that is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is such a big missed piece in so many classrooms, because I wasn't even going to go here yet. I had another question that I was going to ask, but I'm sure you guys hear it so much too. But when we're in schools and we're working with teachers and wherever it may be, whether we're in the building with them or we're doing a professional development, the number one thing that we hear that is a pain point for educators across the nation is classroom management, behavior of students, right? And I'm not minimizing that or being like, that's the teacher's fault or the parent. I'm not pinpointing who, because there are issues. But then every teacher that I talk to, it's always the parents. If parents would just parent better these days, if parents would just parent better these days. I just want to get your reaction on that first and foremost, because I saw a little response.
Well, I mean, personally, I don't care what parents do. They're my classroom. They're mine. And so it's about me teaching them how they need to act while they're in my classroom, and me having those expectations that are high, me have those, procedures in place to make it to where everything flows and they understand. And I teach them how to be a part of my classroom and teach them how to treat other people around them and all that. So, I don't think I've ever, said, hey, man, I really wish these parents would parent better. No, it's always about like, no, they're in my classroom. This is my responsibility. Yeah. My classes are an hour and a half right now. This 90 minutes that they're with me, that's my responsibility, not the parents. This is mine. And so, I don't ever throw that on the parents. Yeah. I would like for parents to do things differently sometimes, but as far as when they're in my room, that's my responsibility. And so that's my,
I think too, just like all of us, like we send our best. Like we're doing the best job we can at home.
Right.
This is our best.
Want teachers to know. There you go. That's the title right there. I promise.
I promise. It's the best I could do today. I'm sorry. They are there. I got them there. That was a big deal today.
Right.
And that's to be honest with you, because the biggest question that we get to right now is, what are you going to do with Maverick? Like he's starting to get to school age. Where is Maverick going to go to school? What are you going to do? Are you going to homeschool? Which I'm scared to never say never, because I was learned where that gets me, because I was never going to date Wade, and we see where we are now. Right. So, but I am scared to death to send him to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like here I am doing all of this work in schools and in education. And why should I feel that way?
Yeah.
And I don't even know the answer to where we're going to send Maverick or what we're going to do, because I am just so afraid to send him to school. And I've sat with that a lot and tried to figure out why. And I think that so much of it boils down to exactly what you were talking about, Riley, with the number one, like that's we're just doing our best as parents. Like parenting is hard. Like let's just full stop. Let's just full stop right there for a minute.
We don't need to take time on that topic though. We'll stay here for a while. It is hard.
It's hard whether you're a single parent, whether you're figuring out how to parent in a marriage, whether you're co-parent. Regardless of the model of parenting,
it's nonstop.
It's nonstop. It's every second of every day.
You think you get one thing right, and then there's something else that falls apart.
I needed that affirmation today and nothing else, because I'm like, you think you're going to, okay, we're seeing good things, and we're seeing that he's taking the things that we're telling him, and then like it's 2 steps forward, 10 steps back,
100 all the time.
All of a sudden. And as a parent, I truly feel like every parent, regardless of the situation or circumstance that's sending a child to school, that's their entire world.
Yeah.
Whatever it looks like for them. And it looks very different for different people. And we know there are situations where kids don't have the best home life and those types of things. But regardless, like that's a human being walking into your class. It's not a test score. It's not a standard. It's not another face that you can deliver curriculum. Like that's a human being that comes into our classroom.
And I think teachers know that. I think in general, the teachers are also showing up and like, I promise I'm doing my best. Right, because they have their own children and they have their own things. Right. And so I don't want to just...
that's
showing up and giving everything that they have.
That's fully, and that's what, at Gear Teach On, we are so much about. Like we talk about that we're 50% about the teacher, but we're also 50% about the human. Because if you don't have a healthy whole human showing up to teach, I don't care what curriculum, it's not, it's going to fall flat. And I think that's, where I think the bridge needs to kind of come together is that teachers are doing their best every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Parents are doing their best every single day. So I don't understand this like kind of pitting against, it's not teachers against parents. And that's a lot what I'm seeing in schools and in communities, whether that be because of social media, right, or the news or what
or board
politics
members.
or board members,
right.
Really I just wish that the parents and teachers could see that common ground versus letting all the voices get mixed up in between.
Yeah, I think when we were kids, it was much more of parents were on the same side as the teachers, right?
Yeah.
Like if anything came home negative from my teacher, I was getting destroyed.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
That was, and so there was always, parents always respected the teacher.
Yeah.
And that is a bigger challenge now.
Why do you think?
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's generational.
I think a lot of it's social media. I think it's a lot of our current culture of being able to question anybody, anything, and just
Just not trusting each other, being skeptical, believing there's an agenda.
Yeah. That's such a great, it goes back to what you were saying about that. And even when kids walk into, I'm assuming that they're doing their best. And I think that we have a lot of assumptions as humans these days, but it's not always around. And I'm guilty too. I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to act like, all of my assumptions are pure and great and the best of intentions of everybody. Like, not at all. And I think that, it kind of has, I do think some of it could potentially be generational, no doubt. But I do think that one of the biggest things we learned in therapy as a married couple, when we were trying to figure things, how do you be married? How do you get along? And then how do you parent? And then was to assume the best of one another.
Right.
And I think that, there's a lot of assumptions in education because of agendas, because of the role that politics play, because of all these mandates, that really we just need to take it back to it being simple. Assume that the parents are doing their best and sending their best, and they're on your side. And teachers also assuming.
And then recognizing
parents
that
also
actually I don't do my best every day. Sometimes I just don't.
And that's okay.
Exactly.
I didn't do my best today.
Go ahead and say it, Josh and Wade and Chris. We don't always do our best every day either in the classrooms.
We had cereal for dinner and we skipped the whole
I kind of do want to play a little bit off because, Riley, I've watched your reaction twice now on different things. I want to know, how has teacher communication kind of played a different role with Grayson, who now graduating high school, all those great things they were saying? How has it played a role with each of your boys kind of differently with communication coming home from the teacher or parent phone calls or what they're saying at conferences or things like that? How has that kind of, one, shaped their educational journey, being two different types of learners in the classroom, but two, you as parents, how has that kind of affected you, both being in education, working with students all the time? How has that kind of varied, and what would you say that kind of looked like?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough question. You mean like when the teacher calls and talks about your child?
Or even a conference, or just kind of the conversations that you had with teachers, and what did that look like for each of the boys, and kind of how did that impact them?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a lot of communication?
I was about to say,
did you?
I don't really remember.
Maybe that's why.
I'm sure I didn't make it to any of the parent-teacher conferences because they were always during the day, and I was probably leading professional development while that was happening in elementary schools.
Right.
So I wasn't there for those. I got the after report kind of thing.
Well, I don't know if this exactly answers your question, but it's very interesting to me, the discrepancy between who your kid is at home and who your kid is at school. And so when I think about communication with the teacher, I find that it's oftentimes me advocating for my child, saying, well, at home, at home he's saying, this is hard, he doesn't understand this, he doesn't want to do this, or he never gets to talk, or you're, and it's like, and then you go to the school and they're like, yeah, he's great, he's friendly, everybody likes him, he has fun, he does fine. I'm like, are you sure? Because at home he's miserable.
Right.
Yeah.
At home, I'm not trying to be negative at all, and it's not all negative.
No, and that's what this is. That's what this is about too.
But with Kian specifically, it's. I had several conferences with the teacher where I'm like, who's he hanging out with? Is he happy? How's he doing? Are you sure? And she's like, everything's perfect. But then at home, he is.
Yeah, he's not.
His reports are not there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't understand, our kids, I think, go to school and they do put on this face of like, okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to do, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to meet these expectations. But the teacher doesn't have the opportunity necessarily to see all of the real impact of what they're saying and how the children are internalizing what they're saying.
So you don't
We kind of take it at face value of what we see in front of us versus like realizing that a lot of times that follows them home and they might feel differently.
Yeah. And I'm
Especially
not
for
targeting
kids,
him as a child who doesn't like school particularly, because actually he loves school. he wants to love school.
Right.
Yeah.
He plans to love school and then gets there and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, and he's not alone for sure, because there's a one of my sessions from nationals this summer. There's a statistic where they surveyed children 3rd grade to 12th grade, and are they engaged and motivated to go to school each day? And 80% of students in 3rd through 12th grade said they were not engaged or motivated to go to school. But then when I asked the teachers, what do you think students would say? They're like, oh, probably only 10% are not engaged and motivated. So there's a discrepancy when they're on their own kind of reflecting and they're clicking through a survey of how does school make you feel and are you engaged and motivated, and kind of the facade that you all were talking about, that it's more of a compliant kind of motivation, that I don't necessarily want to get in trouble or I don't want to do things wrong, so I'm going to follow X, Y, and Z. But the feeling behind it is completely different.
And that is typical across all families that I know, that their kids come home and are ready to just explode. Like they have lots of pent up emotion, lots of energy that they need to place in some way. Like they don't know how to come home and unwind and like get out of that system of just such high and pressure.
Well, that's why, I mean, one of my biggest things is I'm like, you know, there should be recess all the way through high school. There should be time to be able to decompress. There should be time to be able to process, because I'm very much a processor. And so to have to constantly be on and then I can't ever fully process everything that happened before it's time for the next day.
I mean, when I was watching Josh's class, I mean, at the very beginning of class is very chill. Like they were excited to come in, and they were getting started on their projects that they were doing and all their passions. Like, that's what they were doing, and it was very much needed. But I want to go to this real quick.
Okay, I have a question about what we were talking about with communicate. Is it a
it's communication.
Oh, okay, good.
But you said just most of the time the communication you're advocating, and that's weird.
Yeah, I think I'm the one initiating.
Yeah, and that's,
I have a need.
Yeah, and that's not. I don't think that's okay. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't. I mean, I remember when we taught, like I would look for good, and I would text that parent or I would email that parent at least once a week. I would do something for at least 5 kids to point out the good. And you're saying that they don't see your son. That's evidence that they don't.
I don't want to say they never see him. They do. Like, you know, one of my favorite things about Keaton's education was one teacher had him beatbox for the talent show. She knew that was his passion and called it out and was like, you need to do this. And he didn't want to, but he did because she created that platform for him. So there are definitely like treasures within all of it. But I think that in general,
and this is what I was going to say about it, just from listening to you about communication in general, I think that really what parents, and you can correct me if I'm not saying this or interpreting the right way, but I know what I would appreciate too as a parent is authentic communication.
Right.
It can't just be hey, I want to call you and tell that Ken's great and he's so awesome, he's having a great day.
Correct.
All right. And then you see something completely different at home.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, part of really bridging this gap between parents and teachers and getting that mutual respect is open lines of communication. And I feel like those have been broken very much so in this education system.
Don't you think that's just because the teachers are busy?
I 100% think that teachers are overworked,
for sure,
underpaid. Like, don't even get me started on all the systems and the politics.
Josh has 90 kids. He teaches.
Right now, I'm already feeling like, man, I really should do better at communication. They're in middle school. Do I have to communicate with the parents that much? In middle school, you know, like.
No, but I think it's awareness. I think that sometimes we do get, because here's the thing, as a teacher, in my experience, it's always been, you think of a plate and your plate being, it's always shifting of the things on the plate. And it's not, sometimes it's just needing to be reminded of, I only have so much time. I have to prioritize my time into the things that really matter. So maybe I need to get rid of something to be able to have more consistent communication with my parents, to where if I have a student like you're talking about and I'm maybe I do call, it has always been a practice of mine. And I think it's a common practice of a lot of teachers to have a first positive deposit, right? To where I think all of us have those habits of just, if I'm going to communicate with another human being, I want it to be on a good starting place, right? So that's why you do it the first.
And for some kids, you better start early. You better start before they walk into your room.
You do it on the first day of school, okay? No.
They showed up today, and I'm so glad they were here.
I'm like, I saw them on my roster. I cannot wait.
Right. Choose your words wisely. No, because it is so real. But you know, too, I think that it's so important that we actually hear, from me being a teacher, that we also hear, if a parent is saying that what's coming home is not matching what I'm seeing at school,
Right.
that's a red flag immediately of, okay, how do we work together? Let's see if we can start seeing some improvement. And, and again, that's what I always seek for. I'm never going to be like, you know what? We can get him to love school this year. I want this to be like, that is so unrealistic. And I think that's where sometimes teachers go because we think we have to win it for every child.
Right.
But sometimes winning it is just a little bit of progress. It's just a win of a week. It's just saying, let's focus on one thing that we can do this week that would make him love that moment, love that little blip of time. And that is hard because teachers, you have 90 kids. How do you do that with
Here's the thing,
right?
So here's the thing, though. You don't have to necessarily communicate with the parent. The kid is going to come home and tell you everything the teacher has said.
Yeah.
So there's no actually shortage in communication. I know that you said if you liked school or if you cared about this, you would try harder. I know that you said that to him today and that he sobbed for an hour. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know that you said this to him or this to him. I know because I see it all over him, so the communication is happening, and
whether you want it to or not,
or not. And so maybe just being sincere in your teaching and creating an environment. We were talking about how we just want elementary to school to be a place where kids want to be. Like I think your number one goal at that stage should just be they want to be there. Quit preparing them for middle school. Well, they're not in middle school, right? Yeah. They're right here,
and they enjoy learning.
That's what sixth grade is for.
Yeah, exactly.
Sixth grade gets them prepared, right?
Well, I mean, I fully agree with that.
I'm like, please stop preparing him for the next thing. He's not there, and you need to just be in this moment, making it magical, making it great. Well, so I work in the hospital, and I have a parent who came up to me yesterday, timely, talking about communication. And she's like, every time so-and-so would come home and say da-da-da, I'd say, just go ask Mr. Powell what he thinks.
Not questions.
But she want to be in your car ride on the way home. She's like, Mr. Powell, she just rattled off all these things. Her daughter is a junior in high school, I think. Maybe no, she's in college.
You gotta tell a name, but you can't do that though because
she's in college.
Stuff, right?
Her son is in high school, and she just rattled off. Yeah, Mr. Powell taught her this and this and this. It had nothing to do with art. I think one time he told his students he was broke and that they were like he was waiting on the next paycheck. And she's like, that one little bitty thing, like, was so memorable that the student came home, told her parent, and she was able to say, yeah, I've been telling you, we have to live on a budget.
Yeah, that's what we do. Yes.
And then she said, she said, yeah, she came home and told me that Mr. Powell was talking about this little blonde-headed girl whom he saw in the neighborhood on the bicycle, but later he grew up and married her. Here we are.
Josh is like, what is she going to say next?
I'm not pretty nervous
to any of these
I wasn't sweating until like right now, right?
I thought taking Hope on a date when she was 14 by Pam setting that up was the worst.
But it's like, she was like, Mr. Powell showed her what marriage looks like, what looking for a wife looks like, what being loved looks like, what budgeting looks like. And he's the art teacher, right? So like communication is always all the time.
I mean, and parents talk to other parents, just like teachers talk to teachers. I mean, it's happening, but like we said, it's got to be those good deposits. It can't always be that negative, and it shouldn't be a good deposit leading to something. Right.
And I think even more importantly, just like authentic, because you're saying the teachers are saying everything is great. Well, obviously not, because you're seeing the human side, not the student side at home, and the human side is saying it's not so great and this is where I'm struggling. But the teacher kind of being in the wanting to appease the parents also, where we've all been there in conferences where you want to get through that 15 minutes as fast as possible sometimes because you have another one coming in, you have all these things, you're like, that is not the first thing thinking of, but really taking time just to ask the parents what's happening, get their input. I think it's huge because a lot of parent-teacher conferences are very one-sided, that it's teacher talking, parent maybe asks a question, and
they're so academically focused.
That there's no time to just say, what are they saying about school? Like that would help teachers so much.
Not putting on the teacher like they're not counselors.
Right, correct. All right. But even just hearing like the input of like, what are you hearing? I think could be so powerful to teachers to say, oh wow, I thought things were going great.
What it requires. but this is what this requires. And obviously our audience is teachers. So I feel like we need to talk about this because this episode probably will make some people burn in different ways. It's like, oh, that stings a little bit. Oh, I don't know. This feels very one-sided for the parents, but that's what this episode is about. Because here's the thing. If we ever want to bridge the gap between teachers and parents and get everybody on the same page, it's going to require some uncomfortable feelings. It's going to require us as the educators to hear conversations like this and actually listen versus be on the defensive side, and vice versa for the parents as well. And that's why, this was kind of, we were like, we really want to intentionally plan these episodes for this reason specifically, because this episode is obviously not a drag on teachers. And the episode that we have about, what teachers wish parents would know is not a drag on parents. The point is that we need to simplify. And the way that we simplify is just to listen. And it's being willing to hear, which takes humility on both parts, because it takes assuming the best, which goes back to exactly what you were talking about at the beginning, and saying, okay, we've got to meet and recognize that we both want what's best for this child, for this student, right? And so that's going to take me kind of letting my guard down to really hear because I want to be honest with you. I'm just going to put myself as if I were Kian's teacher, okay? Mm-hmm. And I know how much I pour into my classroom, the same way that Josh, Wade, Chris. To hear that one of my students was coming home and basically hating school and being miserable would devastate me.
Me too.
Same. Yeah.
And it would take some time for me to be able to move past the taking it personal aspect, if I'm being honest, because I'm like, but I know what I'm pouring into this class. I know the hours, the time, the money, the resources, and sometimes we just want to be like, we're just not going to win every student. It's just not in every, but at some point we have to say, okay, it's not a personal thing. It's the way they're perceiving what's happening. And everybody's perception is so different. So it does take some humility and some just time to be like, I've got to actually listen and hear what is, not what I want it to be. Because I'm sure every teacher wants him to love school. So I'm like, that is their heart. That is their intention. But then it goes back to time to actually listen and then time to respond. And not just say, okay, I know you. But then it goes into, okay, well, maybe I can at some point teach a lesson differently and tie in something I know he's really interested in. So if nothing else, one day this month, he's going to go home and say, Mom, school was actually really great today.
Right.
I can't expect for him to say that every day.
Yeah.
That's unrealistic for but how can I win a day for him? And then maybe that day turns into one time every 2 weeks. And then maybe I can get it to one time a week, right? By the end of the year. I think we have to, number one, have some humility. We have to listen. And we have to respond with realistic expectations of ourselves as teachers. Like to recognize I'm not going to fully change his mind this year. Mm-hmm. But then two, maybe next year, going to his next teacher and saying, here's what I want you to know about this student. Mm-hmm. Here's how you're going to win the day with them. Versus, oh, you have so-and-so in your class? Right. We're always focused on the negative versus how we can connect with them at a deeper level. And I think it's kind of like gossip. If you spiral into gossip, that's
you live in it.
Right? It's always going to be negative. I think we have to approach that with that parent-teacher connection is we have to shift our assumptions first and foremost. Because if we're not willing to shift our assumptions, we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to have common ground. But obviously this episode is titled What Parents Wish Teachers Would Know. So if there anything final that you feel like would be, again, just even something that stirs a little bit of awareness or stirs like you said, oh man, now I'm really thinking about maybe I need to make a little shift here or a little shift because we're always learning. We're always growing. We're always trying to get a little bit better. So anything else that you wish that teachers would, or what am I trying to say?
Parents wish teachers would know.
You got it. There you go.
In my brain. Yeah.
Look at me.
You've already put him on the spot. I'm kidding.
I don't know if I know anymore. Ultimately, I do love teachers.
Yeah.
Very much. And so I do want to make sure to say that.
That was never even that never even came off.
Yeah, I think they're fantastic. I just, I want them to have fun and love their jobs. I think I feel worried about them a lot of the time because there's so much pressure. And so I try to, encourage them and not call too much or not put too much expectation on them. I don't think it's their responsibility to make my kids love school, actually.
But I'll disagree with you a little bit on that. But
Yeah.
we can have another whole episode about that. But
I mean, I wish that they, I want them to have fun. I want them to just enjoy the children. And I wish that they could just let go of all of things, get back to their passion for children and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I know that that's not realistic and that they don't always get to just do what they want to do, that they have to follow a lot of expectations. So
Josh, you as the teacher, as an educator, I feel like at your core, you have the things established in your classroom that you want to establish regardless of what mandates, what protocol. How do you do that as a teacher?
I think I just love going to work every day. Really. I mean, I was thinking through, like, as I was listening to her response a little bit and hearing it as a teacher and just thinking about, we just have to, as teachers, just go into work each day knowing that we're going to love today, and knowing that we get to love on kids throughout the day with all the other things we have, all the other pressures we have, all the things we've got to accomplish as well. But the main focus has to be on the students that we get to teach each day and getting to know them and getting to make those connections, helping them to make connections with each other as well within that, and creating those opportunities for collaboration in the classroom, and just giving them opportunities, I think, is the most important thing. So as I'm hearing it, it's hard for me to flip back to just a parent. What do I want teachers to know? Yeah. Now it's like, no, what do I need to know as a teacher?
We call that on the flip side, Josh. That's what we call that. Yeah.
And so that's, it always brings that into focus for me,
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking, like you're a very unique individual. You're talented in a lot of different areas, and ever since I've known you, even before, you started teaching before I started teaching, but even when I would visit your classroom way back when, it was always a space that you enjoyed going to, and you always made it. And I think that's something that you and I both have in common big time, but also the expectations are there, the procedures are there, but because we are so ingrained in showing up and having fun as teachers, we want our kids to do that too.
Right.
And I've seen that since day one from you.
Well, I mean, our students still produce at a really, really high level,
Correct.
right? Yep. Because of those relationships, because of the safe space that we've created. Right. Now I can challenge them way beyond what
Correct.
other middle school students are doing in visual art, which is what I teach typically. No, I'm not. Now it's, they enjoy being in my classroom. I've created a safe space. Now let's go through and really start creating stuff that blows everybody's minds as far as what
and it's a literal safe space, because if it's not, you're going to cut your hand off.
Well, there's the plasma cutter, there's the wire cutters, there's all there's all of that too.
That is another. I'm not for this time, but you have so many different organizations and companies who just donate to your. Oh, that's a different conversation, but it is so unique. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Well, Josh, Riley, thank you so much for joining us. I want to get to you guys just giving information about yourself. I would love for you to tell about your book too, because I think that can be so helpful for us as teachers and moms. Teachers who are watching today, I know, or listening, I know this episode can be difficult to swallow. I think all of us sitting here as educators on this couch, it can be difficult to swallow, but we can either look at it as, when we're having these open, vulnerable conversations, as an attack on one side or as an opportunity to take a little nugget, to take a little piece to reflect, if nothing more than that, just to reflect on, where are my priorities? What does it look like when building relationships? What is my communication like with my parents? And maybe where can I make one small shift? It's not about changing everything and about being perfect. It's just about trying to be a little bit better tomorrow than we are today. So I hope that you were able to join us in this very vulnerable. I want to say thank you for coming and talking about your children. That's a lot, and I'm grateful. I think it's going to be so helpful just from all of us having these conversations from different perspectives, for others to be able to listen in, see how those conversations operate, take little bits and pieces to be able to not feel defensive, but to reflect. And I know bringing your babies into it makes it very personal. So thank you guys for being here for that. But I do want to hear a little bit more about this book, and let us know where we can find it. And you have a podcast as well. So for females, specifically for mamas, let us know.
Okay, well, the book is called Let's Undo This. It's a memoir about God taking me on a journey back through my past to find the truth about how he feels about me. And it's at letsundothis.com. And so I'd love,
you can join Riley. It's a great resource for for everybody, but for females specifically, for mamas, I know there's a lot of pressure on us to be perfect when we have our own babies, you know. So anyways, love for you to check that out, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
In 6 years, you'll have to come back because we only talked about 2 out of the 3 children. So in 6 years, we're gonna have a part 2, so we can say
is she gonna be a mix?
it's a cliffhanger episode to find out number 3. What is that journey gonna look like? But thank you, Josh and Riley, for joining us. If you are listening or watching, make sure you tune in every Monday for another episode right here on The Flip Side. But until then, we will catch you on the flip side. Bye, guys.